Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we pull back the curtain on the confusing world of business filings and, well, sometimes it turns out the emperor has no clothes. Today we're diving into Microvast Holdings Incorporated's latest report, and let me tell you, it has got a few interesting tidbits about their shareholder meeting and what is on the horizon. So buckle up because we're going to decode this one for you. And hey, before we jump in, if you like getting these insights without the corporate jargon, make sure you are subscribed. We also have a growing Discord community where we break down these filings further, so don't forget to check the link in the description below. Alright, so this report is a Form 8K, which is basically a company's way of telling the public about any big news that isn't already covered by their regular reports. Think of it like a company's urgent bulletin board. The main event here happened on the 23rd of October 2025, and that was Microvast Holdings Incorporated's annual meeting for its stockholders. This is where the owners of the company, US shareholders, get to vote on important stuff. Now, what kind of stock are we talking about? Well, they have common stock, and the par value is practically nothing, just a tiny fraction of a cent. What really matters is that this stock is traded on the Nasdaq Stock Market LLC under the ticker symbol MVST. They also have these things called redeemable warrants, also traded on Nasdaq under MVSTW. These are like options that let you buy shares of their common stock at a set price, in this case $11.5 per S-share. It is good to know what these are because they can represent future dilution of shares if they are exercised. At this meeting, there were two main things put to a vote. The first was electing a director to the board. Wei Ying was up for election as a Class I director, expected to serve for 3 years. The voting results are pretty key here. Wei Ying got 123,485,834 votes for the election. That is a lot of support. There were also 13,349,205 votes withheld, meaning shareholders either didn't want to vote for or against this director, or they just didn't vote on this particular issue, and then there were 55,865,084 broken non-votes. This is important because it means that the shares were held by a broker, and that broker did not have specific instructions on how to vote these shares. So while Wei Ying was elected, a significant chunk of shares did not actively vote for them. The second proposal was about who will be their independent auditors for the year. Shareholders voted to keep Deloitte Touch Tohmatsu Certified Public Accountants, LLP, and the vote to ratify Deloitte was overwhelmingly positive, with 191,591,011 votes. That is a strong show of confidence in their auditor. There were only 1,176,75 votes against, and 119,381 abstain votes. This almost unanimous approval suggests that the company's financials and reporting practices are meeting with shareholder approval, at least on the surface. Now, usually in these reports we dig deep into financial statements, but this particular filing is more about corporate governance and voting results. The main financial meat would be in different reports like a 10Q or 10K. However, the fact that they are highlighting their auditor and director elections tells us they are focused on the structures that should lead to good financial reporting. And that makes sense because accurate financial statements are the bedrock of investor confidence. Let's talk about the attendance. A total of 192,887,067 shares were present at the meeting. This represents about 59.28% of the total shares outstanding as of the 26th of August 2025. Having over half of the shares represented is generally considered a good turnout for an annual meeting, and means that the votes cast are more likely to reflect the will of the majority of the company's owners. So what is the story here at Microvast Holdings Incorporated? Well, this filing isn't about dramatic shifts in revenue or profit, like you'd see in a quarterly earnings report. Instead, it is a behind-the-scenes look at the operational side of their business, the overwhelming approval for their auditor. Deloitte is a positive sign. It suggests that investors trust the company's financial reporting integrity, and the election of Wei Ying with a solid for vote indicates general shareholder support for the company's leadership direction. However, the broken non-votes are something to keep an eye on. While not necessarily a red flag, it does mean a considerable number of shares weren't directly voted by their beneficial owners. If this trend continues, it could indicate a lack of engagement from a segment of their shareholder base, or it could simply mean that many investors are comfortable letting their brokers make those decisions based on standard practice. Looking at the broader picture, Microvast Holdings Incorporated is in the advanced materials sector, particularly focusing on battery technology for electric vehicles. Companies in this space are vital as the world transitions to cleaner energy. Their success hinges on innovation, manufacturing efficiency, and securing major contracts with automotive manufacturers. This report, while not directly about sales figures, reinforces the idea that the company is maintaining its foundational corporate structure and adhering to good governance practices. This stability is crucial for attracting and retaining the significant investments needed to scale operations and develop new battery technologies. The main risks for a company like Microvast often lie in the highly competitive and rapidly evolving nature of the battery market. Technological obsolescence. Supply chain disruptions and the ability to scale production efficiently are all significant factors. Also, geopolitical events can impact raw material availability and cost of production, which is a constant worry for material science companies. So, what is my take on this particular filing? It is a procedural report confirming the smooth running of their annual shareholder meeting. The elections and ratifications seem to have gone off without a hitch, indicating stable leadership and auditor confidence. The focus here is on the foundation of good corporate practice, which is essential for long-term investor trust and future financial growth, while there are no earth-shattering numbers to dissect here. The lack of controversy is in its own way a positive sign for a company in a dynamic industry. It suggests they are managing their corporate affairs competently, allowing them to focus on their core business of developing and producing advanced battery materials. Alright, that is our breakdown of Microvast Holdings Incorporated's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future, especially in the fast-paced EV battery market? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.